welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy. So June is upon us and June is Pride Month, and usually for the month of June I like to read nothing but my favorite genre next to mysteries and thrillers, which is male romances. If you see my door opening in the back, it's just Bella. Don't worry, she's back there. It's close to feeding time and she's trying to get me to go feed her. There's lots of noises too. But it's still way too early, so she's just gonna have to wait, but you may hear her banging on the door. It's open. I didn't close it so she could come in, but she's just being a cat. So anyway, what I thought I'd do in my next couple videos is kind of get maybe you prepared for some male romances if you would like to pick some up in the month of June or any time. I mean, it doesn't matter. Any time of the year you can pick up a good male romance. I know I do. A list of maybe some of my favorite tropes and maybe some of my favorite books that I've read in the past that I have not talked about here on my channel. So I think I'm gonna do this in like 3 parts because I have 3 type of tropes that I truly love in a male romance. And of course, friends to lovers. I love a good, like, been friends forever and grew up together and formed this sort of bond that turns into love. I love those kinds of stories. I also love a good enemies to lovers story or hate to lovers story. Characters that just cannot stand each other or despise each other, and they maybe are thrown together for some reason, get to know each other and fall in love. As well as I love a good first time with a man kind of story. Whether all this time you're thinking you're straight and you come across this beautiful man and you have these desires and you want to try them out, or whether you're bi and you haven't really been with a man yet, you know you're attracted to them but you haven't really been with a man yet. Those sort of things, those are my favorite tropes that I love in a male romance. So that's why I say I think I'm going to do this in 3 parts to get us geared up for Pride Month. So this is going to be part 1. This is going to be my friends to lovers trope. And of course, there are so many friends to lovers tropes in a male romance. And I know I've talked about quite a few here on my channel. My absolute favorite, of course, being Him by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. This is just, and this is the only book I actually have of all the books I'm going to talk about today. But this is my just all-time truly favorite friends to lovers male romance book. I love it as a series. It has Us is a second book, and then there's even like a 2.5 kind of book called Epic. I actually have that one, but yeah, my favorite one, I've talked about this many times on my channel, but this is Jamie and Wes's story. They have been friends for years. They met at like a hockey camp, and when they were at this camp when they were younger, more like in their teens, something happened. Wes sort of coaxed Jamie into having a little fun with him, and then he sort of felt guilty about it, but Jamie was fine with it. Years passed. I believe there's 6 years in between them not really speaking. Jamie never really understood what happened to their friendship. He misses Wes. And then finally they come together because their hockey teams are going to be playing against each other. And so they come back together as friends and they discover their love for each other after all these years. It's a beautiful love story. Friends to lovers. I absolutely love it. But you know this. Also a good one that I've talked about, not recently, but I have talked about it on my channel. And it's The Blueprint by, S.E. Harmon. This is also a series. It has 2 parts to it. I believe the next book is, I forget what the second book is called, but it's just a continuation of their story, just like Him and Us. So this is Kelly and Britton's story, or Blue. Britton, or Blue, I guess, is a football player, and Kellen is sort of like your nerdy type. Kellen has always been in love with his straight friend, but he's tried to, you know, hold those feelings in, and just because he loves having Blue as a friend. The older they get, the harder it becomes. Kelly just decides that he can't go on living his life like this. His feelings are too deep for Blue, so he tries to push away from Blue. And Blue doesn't understand what's happening, so he follows him around. And finally, Kelly lets him know how he feels, and they kind of go from there. It's just a fun, loving, sweet story between these two guys. And then, of course, it continues in the second book, which I can't remember what the name is. Then we have #Junkie by Cumbria Hebert. I don't know how anybody else says it. I say Hebert, but I know that's probably not right because I'm Southern, so I don't know. But this was also a very good friends to lovers story. This is also a series. I'm not sure how many books are in a series, but only read the first two. The second one is called #Rev, and it's just a continuation of this story. So this is a story of Drew and Trent. They've been really good friends for a long time. Drew is a race car driver. He loves cars, and he wants to make that out to become a career. And then we have Trent, who is still going to college. I believe he's like the president of his frat house or whatever it may be, and he's in love with Drew. And Drew is supposedly straight. This is also one of those good, as well as The Blueprint, it's also one of those goods, I'm straight, but yet I might have feelings for you kind of thing. Let's go with that. Also one of my favorite tropes. But we're gonna put this in friends to lovers category because they've just been friends for a while. But I love this. I love this little at least the first two books. I haven't read anything else in this series. It's the Gear Shark series. But the first two books are very, very good. I love them. It's just Drew and Trent's story. There's some backgrounds going on with both of them. Trent's frat house finding out that he's gay, and things happen with that. And then Drew trying to discover exactly what he is. Is he bi? Why does he only have feelings for Trent? But he's going to go with these feelings and see where it takes them. This #Junkie does kind of leave you hanging. So #Rev is definitely something that you have to pick up. If I wanted to pick it up because I wanted to finish reading their story. But it's one of my favorites, and I just wanted to mention it. But I have talked about those on my channel before. So I have 6 other books that I've never talked about on my channel. So here we go. First up is Hothead by Damon Suede. Y'all, I think I mentioned before that Damon Suede can be a little raunchy. This is definitely in that category. I think this is also in a series, but I have not read any of the other books after this. I might need to look into that. I don't know why I didn't continue, but anyway, this was a great way to start off the series. I'll just read you a little bit of the synopsis because it's been so long since I read these next 6 books. I don't really remember. I mean, I see them in my mind. I can picture them and I know how I feel about them, but I feel like I can't give you a good description of them without maybe going over the synopsis with you. But I very much remember this book. Just remember being like, oh my gosh. Since 9/11, Brooklyn firefighter Griff Moore has wrestled with impossible feelings for his best friend and partner at Ladder 181, so they're firefighters. Unfortunately, Dante is strictly a ladies' man, and the FDNY isn't exactly gay-friendly. For 10 years, Griff has hidden his heart in a half-life of public heroics and private anguish. To protect his buddy, there's nothing Griff wouldn't do until a nearly bankrupt Dante proposes the worst possible solution. Hothead.com, a gay porn website where uniform hunks get down and dirty, and Dante wants them to appear there together. Griff may have to guard his heart and live out his darkest fantasies on camera. Can he rescue the man he loves without wrecking their careers, their families, or their friendships? It's intense. It's raunchy. I loved it. Next up is Gone for You by Riley Hart. This is also in a series. It's just 2 books. I did read both books, but you don't have to. They're completely about 2 totally different characters. They all appear they all appear in the same book, but the main focus is on different characters, so you don't have to read them. But Gone for You is the first book in the Wild Side series. I remember this being a really sweet male-male romance. This is Oliver and Matt's story. They have been friends for years. They've kind of grown apart. So Oliver is our very soft-hearted character, and he's loved his friend for years. But it's been 10 years. Matt has gone off to New York or something like that to pursue his music career. And then he, for some reason, I don't really remember, but he comes back into town and they get together, and he like moves in with Oliver for the time while he's there. I don't remember if Matt is gay or saying he's straight. I don't really remember, but I do know that he feels once he gets back into Oliver's life, he feels something very strongly, and their friendship and whatever else happens just kind of goes from there. It's a very sweet love story. I loved it. Next up, I have 2 books that are in the same series, although you don't really have to read the whole series. It's kind of a long series. It goes back and forth with male-male and male-female characters. I kind of skipped around. I did read one of the male-female character books just because she played a huge role in one of the male books, and I really liked her character, so I went on to read her story. But the first book in the series is called Curious, and this is by R.G. Alexander, and this is part of the Fin Factor series. This is number 1, I think I said that. This is my favorite out of yes, it is my favorite out of the whole series. And then I have like 2 other ones that I really liked, but one of them is not actually a friends to lovers kind of story, but it's more of a short story. But anyway, this one is about Jeremy. Jeremy considers himself bi, and his friend Owen. Owen Finn, so he's part of the Finn family. The Finn family are fantastic. I loved all their brothers and sisters and everybody in this little series. It was really fun, sexy series. I highly recommend it. Like I said, Jeremy considers himself bi. He also belongs to like this BDSM club, which is where our female character kind of comes in at, and I really liked her, so I wanted to continue with her story. But anyway, she likes to watch, so she's sort of in a room with Jeremy and this other guy, and then she invites Owen, because Owen's just a good friend of hers, so she invites him to, because he's curious about the whole BDSM thing. But then he walks in the room and like his friend Jeremy's in there, and he like doesn't know what to do. This is all at the beginning of the book, so it's nothing, no spoilers. This is kind of how their curious little love affair starts. Because they've always been friends, and Jeremy's always been in love with Owen, but he never really pursued that part of his obsession. So Jeremy's with this other guy, and in walks Owen, and they sort of lock eyes, and it's intense, it's hot, it's sexy. I highly recommend it, and their friendship to lovers kind of goes from there. And it's also a very good trope for never been with a guy, always thought I was straight kind of storyline, because Owen's never been with a guy, but he's curious. So okay, so the next book in the series, I don't remember which one this is. This is number 7 in the series, and it's called Fearless. This is also by R.G. Alexander. I keep wanting to say R.J., but it's R.G. This is a male romance. This was very exciting. I was very much into this book. I just remember that. I don't remember exactly. I think all 3 of them are really good friends, and they just kind of take it to another level. I'll give you a little bit more. It says, "Can you be fearless? Rory Finn used to have a sinful reputation and a fetish for a certain kind of man. The straighter, the better. But since the mistletoe meltdown, he's turned over a new leaf, just in time for his 2 best friends to start breaking one of the few rules they had with each other. But if he can find the courage to trust them with his heart and his secrets, he can have the kind of love he's always needed from the 2 people he's always craved." And it says, warning, this book has male nookie. Gay for you, pan for you, pie for you, try for you. It also has a trigger warning of some sensitive elements of past trauma. I don't really remember exactly what that was, and so it must have not been like a huge part of the story. You can read the whole series if you choose to. I kind of hopped around, but I just remember these two are kind of branded in my mind. I really enjoyed them. Next up is Fired Up. This is another one by Riley Hart. This is also a series. This is the Fever Falls series. This is book 1. I did read like up to book 4, I believe, but I kind of started getting disinterested, and everything was just not as good as like the first couple books. But this is my favorite. This is a story of Ashton and Bo. They were friends back in high school, and they might have kissed or something like that, from what, if I'm remembering correctly, and it kind of all went downhill from there. And they sort of not became enemies, but Bo for some reason got really angry at Ashton, and for years there's kind of been like this hate between them, although Ashton never hated Bo. I believe Ashton is like a football player, famous football player, and he comes into some sort of trouble, so he comes back to Fever Falls. Of course, he looks up Bo. They sort of become friends again. Bo tries to forgive him for whatever happened in the past. And I know there was a kiss, but I'm not sure how it went down or how it went south. But they become friends, and then, of course, one thing leads to the other. But Ashton's always felt something for Bo, but he wasn't sure what it was. He's never really felt anything with a woman, but when he's with Bo, he has these crazy feelings that he doesn't really understand. So he explores those feelings. It's a very fun, very sexy read. And lastly, this is Summer Heat by Jay Northcote. I remember loving this, but I can't remember what it's about. So we're gonna read a little bit of the synopsis. I know it has something to do with a broken heart. I believe he goes on vacation by himself. Hold on, let's see. A summer fling is an ideal cure for a broken heart, but when it's with your best friend, things get complicated. When Adam is dumped by his boyfriend, a week away at a beach resort seems like a great opportunity to get over his ex. Okay, I remember a little bit of that. Adam's best friend, Finn, agrees to accompany him at short notice. Finn's had a crush on Adam for years, but is determined to put his feelings aside and be the perfect wingman in Adam's time of crisis. A spontaneous threesome with another guy forces Adam and Finn to confront their attraction to each other. Having a holiday fling together wasn't part of the plan, and as their trip heats up, they soon realize that one night of fun might not be enough for either of them. I might need to reread that. All right, that's it, y'all. That's part 1 of my little male romance tropes. Stay tuned for part 2. In my next video, that'll be probably enemies to lovers. We'll go for that one. But thank y'all so much for watching. Hope y'all are all staying safe and healthy as always. Big hugs from me. Everything you need will be linked down in my description box below. I'll have these books as well as all my social medias and anything else you're looking for. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye, y'all.